everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Indie Corner Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got the awesome Marcus Koch is here. How you doing, Marcus?
Doing good. How are you?
I said your name right, right?
You
Cook?
did. You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you get, just like I've had other people recently with different names, and I always get worried that I'm gonna butcher it, but I took a chance with that one because I've known you for a while. Like I think we've known each other since like the MySpace days, if I'm correct. Like remember back
Yeah,
then?
definitely.
It was a wild time back then. But you've been doing film for like longer than that. So like tell us how you got into it.
Just kind of ass backward. Like as a kid, my parents raised me on horror movies, so we'd go to the drive-in like anytime there'd be a horror film, or you know, in the era of VHS mom and pop shops, we'd always be renting horror movies. We could take like three home and a weekend, and we just always watch horror. So they never like put me off, but I remember like loving the slasher films, and I'd always ask my dad like how'd they do that, because I understood enough that I'd see actors over and over in different movies, so I knew they weren't really getting hurt. So I was like, how do you do that, Dad? And my dad would just be like, special effects. And I was like, that's a job you can do as an adult. I want to do that. And so I kind of got into filmmaking just wanting to do special effects. And, as a kid, just started dinking around with a video camera and just trying my own like experiments with effects. And then I'd film them just to see how they looked. And then little by little, like those like experiments on film, like I started putting little stories together and then trying to get like neighborhood friends and try and set up little plots and acting. And so along the way I inadvertently just kind of became a filmmaker. It just kind of kept growing, and the shorter films just got more elaborate and longer. And then in 10th grade I set out to make my first like 90-minute feature, which was Bad Blood.
Okay, so before we get into all that though, do you still have a lot of the older short films that you did?
Yeah, some uh a lot of them, lost over the years, or the tapes got like, VHS mold, or, got water damage, at the bottom of a box. So not all of them existed, but what does exist, I've managed to like, digitize and save on a hard drive.
Oh, very cool. Okay. So do you like looking back at those at all?
Uh some of them are really bad, but we did some fun stuff, and I kind of have like, I don't know, some favorites that we did. We did some crazy stuff as kids.
Hmm. Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm so sad because I had a bunch that I did on mini DV, and I don't have them anymore. And they
Well,
were put on YouTube, but I was an idiot and like unlisted all of them, so nobody could find
hmm.
them except for me. Problem is now I'm locked out of that
Oh
one,
no.
that YouTube, yeah, because they switched over from what is it? They used to be able to have like Hotmail and
Hmm.
Yahoo and everything. Now it's all Gmail. And
Yeah.
so like I lost because that was like my old Hotmail stuff or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God, I want to go back into there. I want to figure out how to get back in so I can because I don't remember my old password or whatever, and shit. And I never wrote it down. So that was all my fault, but I'm just saying, now it kind of sucks not seeing all but maybe there's a reason. Maybe that's, because they weren't good. I just always kind of, you know, want to look back and see how hopefully how far I've come as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Do you ever like, is that how you feel sort of when you look at it? You're like, oh man, I'm so much better now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's different because like, then I didn't know how films were made, so I just had to kind of make it up, you know. Um, and I never went to a film school, but the bigger sets that I started to get involved with, like I started to see like how what I was doing really wasn't too far off from how like real films are structured. It takes pre-planning. You got to plan out lots of shots. You got to schedule everybody's time. You got to make sure everyone's fed or they go home.
They're
So
like, I'm
like all
out of
the
here.
things that happen. Yeah, yeah. So I kind of inadvertently taught myself like kind of the way to do it, just figuring it out.
Well, that's what you did with your first film, Bad Blood.
Hmm.
Um, did like did you do the effects on Bad Blood as well?
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely like wanted to be like a showcase of like all the crazy shit I was like working on and experimenting with. And you know, plot wise it's terrible. The acting, it's like I, I had like one guy, Carl, who was like, he was an actor. He was in the school's like, drama program. So like, he was like an actor, and everyone else was just friends. I just kind of sucker into being these characters. So it's a, it's uneven.
What did you shoot it on?
Mm, VHS.
Wow, so it's a VHS movie. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And towards the end, it took me like 5 years to do it. But at some point, I got a high 8 camcorder, and so most of it's like older shots were all VHS, and then some of the like kind of wraparound and recent stuff was all high 8, but then transferred to VHS so I could edit it on a deck to deck, you know, method.
Nice. That's really cool. I like that. I like hearing about the different different cameras that everybody uses because, especially when you're first starting out, it's, you use what you have or what you can afford.
Yeah. And before I had, editing capabilities, like the two kind of short films before then, I call them short films, but they were like 30 minutes and then 60 minutes. And there was like leading up to like, okay, now I think I'm ready to do a 90-minute film. Like I have like my short films that are like a minute or so, just goofball, like no plot or anything, just something weird would happen with an effect in it. And then uh, in 8th grade, that's when I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to make like, a 30-minute movie. And one summer I got with my friends and we made a movie called White Massacre, and that was 30 minutes. And then
White
the summer,
Massacre?
White Massacre.
What is that? What's that
Oh,
about?
um, you can tell I was inspired by the movies I was growing up watching, because it was like the parents leave for the weekend and the kids have the house. And so they throw like a party when they're not supposed to, but then there's a masked serial killer who escapes from a mental institute and like wandering around and kills them.
Nice. That sounds about right for that time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was seeing a lot of that. So, yeah, and then in 9th grade, I decided I was going to try and do my first 60-minute movie, and that one's called Lunch Meat. And it was because one of the characters in it is a cannibal, and he's cutting up his friends, and then he's in love with this girl, and so he invites her over for like dinner at the end, and he's feeding her their friends. He's like, remember
Nice.
when we I said we were going to have friends for dinner? uh
That's actually very clever. Um, I think wasn't there like an 80s or 70s film called
Mhm.
Lunch Meat as well? So
Oh yeah.
were you aware of that when you made it or
I think I can't remember if I mean, I'm definitely very familiar with the VHS of it, but I don't know if that was one our shop had, or I found out about it around like the same time.
okay.
But I just called it lunch meat just because I was like I don't know, we'd always make sandwiches with lunch meat, and I thought like, oh, that'd make a perfect title.
Yeah. No, it totally works. There's just I wasn't sure if you were inspired by the movie or not. I'm guessing not at
Yeah,
all.
I can't remember if it was one I had seen. I'm because like growing up, I definitely didn't like really give much pause to ripping stuff off, like, because I didn't see it as like ripping anything off,
It's
like
homaging. It's Quentin Tarantinoing.
homaging. Yeah, like because I made a whole series of short films when I was like starting when I was 12, when I finally saw Bad Taste. And so I made my own little like goofy short films just called Bad Taste. No relation really, but like uh, I don't know, they were just like little short films to experiment with, little gore gags I was trying.
Nice. And were they all in bad taste?
Sorta.
That's cool though. So you make Bad Blood, you know, which like what do you do with it? Do you go to like conventions or did you just kind of sit
Um,
around with it?
yeah, I hadn't yet. It wasn't until after I made Rot that I hooked up with a guy who had like a mail order, you know, VHS bootleg catalog, like who lived near me. I'm trying to think of his name now. It was Mark something. Uh, but he had like it was like he had a whole VHS mail order business, and he didn't live too far from me. Um, and so he wound up putting like doing a version and released it in his catalog, but I don't know how long like that kind of lasted, because that was in like the golden age of like tape trading, you know,
Hmm. That's cool.
back in the late 90s. So that but it never had like an official release. So, and then I've just kind of sat on it for the last like 25 years, almost 30 years now. Jesus.
Are you putting
Ah.
it out?
I did a Blu-ray of like limited to 100 copies. I'll burn DVDs if people ask me, but I just did like a limited release.
Very
But
cool.
I could send you if you want to see some of the short films.
Are they
I
on
could I
that
could
Blu-ray or something or
um well I could burn you DVDs.
cool. I'd
Like
love to.
Blu-rays were expensive. That's why I did it limited to like 100.
Yeah, no, but that's awesome. I'd love to. Yeah, I would love to definitely. Feel free to send me whatever you want because
Yeah.
we do a show on Indie Film Cafe called Short Film Saturdays. So we do review short films as well, and it's
Oh,
random stuff. We reviewed a Ed Wood short, and
oh,
stuff
nice.
and things like that. I mean, it's whatever we can find and review, we review them, you
Cool.
know. And so yeah, we're really happy about doing that. But I would love to check out some of your short films because to me that's how people normally get started, right? They do
Mhm.
short films and then they graduate to features and then they continue going on and sometimes they go back to short films
Yeah.
and do that as well. Um
I'd like to go back and do a short film. About 10 or 11 years ago, I got contacted. Well, it started off, I don't know if you've seen the High Eight anthology.
yeah,
Okay. I was talking, it was a weird conversation between like me and Tim Ritter, and then Tim Ritter and Brad Sykes started talking. Just because the movie VHS had come out, and my big gripe with it, I love the first VHS, but my big gripe is I was like, well, outside of like the wraparound, like none of the segments are shot on VHS. It's all shot on webcam and like DSLR, and I was like, well, that's not really
that's
a
not no,
VHS.
that's not VHS.
Yeah, so like if we're gonna go back and do something, and they thought like we'll do high eight and call it horror independent eight. So it'd be eight filmmakers. And I thought like, oh, so I fucking bought a camera on like eBay, a high eight camcorder, and I shot my segment, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be awesome. And then, to see everyone else's shorts, like no one else shot on high eight. They shot on like DSLR and mini DV, which I'm like, well, mini DV is mini DV. If you're gonna call it high eight, shoot on high eight.
Yeah, no, I don't understand. I don't get that, but yeah,
Mm.
I love that yours is on high eight and like that's funny. I I don't know. I never even noticed because I saw it. I saw it a while ago. I know Tim Ritter, Chris Seaver,
Yeah,
tons of people were were
Ron
involved with
Bonk's
that.
Ron Bonk's got a fun segment.
I think Donald Farmer, if I'm
Donald
correct.
Farmer and yeah, Mike Malloy's and Donald Farmer's segment. Who I can't remember the other filmmakers on that one.
It's, yeah,
Brad
I mean
Sykes did
Brad
the rap
Sykes
one.
and
Yeah.
and it's so interesting. Like all these filmmakers, like we have so many great filmmakers out there doing independent films, and everything.
Hmm.
And I love to see the community and people helping each other, being a part of something, that to me is amazing. We sort of need that,
Yeah.
camaraderie. Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, I mean, in places, all of us like, are friends now, like me, Tim Ritter, like, yeah, I mean, we don't talk or hang out, but like we've been friends for years. Like I loved watching, Truth or Dare. And then when I found out he lived in Florida, like I wrote him, a letter and try and like get in touch with him. uh, and, wound up working on one of his anthologies that he did with Kevin Lindenmuth, the Alien Agenda series. I don't know if you ever
Yes,
saw
I
the
saw
one.
that on your resume, like on your
Yeah.
IMDb, and that's awesome because I've heard of Alien Agenda. I've just never, don't think I've
Oh,
ever
man.
seen any of them.
Yeah, like it's great because it's like different filmmakers from all around the country that Kevin Lindenmuth was putting together, who are all, the micro budget, shot on video, do it yourself, filmmakers from around. And like, yeah, that was like probably my first like I'm gonna leave and go work for somebody else. That was my first kind of gig, getting to work on someone else's project because he needed a mutant alligator head, and I was like, I don't know how to do that, but I'll try. So I
Did you
made.
do a good job, do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's fun. It works in the context of the movie. Like, it was chicken wire spray foam in a can, and I painted like this alligator head that like just swam through the swamp and like came up at Joel Wynkoop.
That is so funny because like characters like, where you go around and you make a like you yourself, you're a special effects guy, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a lot of mainly what you're also a filmmaker, but like you a lot of your resume, like if you look at your IMDb, you've got like 100 credits
Yeah,
for or more, for special effects, and you've got your credits for filmmaking, and everything. And so
yeah.
you that's the majority of the work that you do is for higher,
Mhm.
special effects. And I love seeing it because I always love seeing, and sometimes people are telling me, "Oh, that was Marcus that did that." And I'm like, "What? That's awesome." Like I get excited when I see that you've worked on projects that I'm checking out or watching.
you know and I mean it all started small, and I mean I never had like aspirations to go work on big Hollywood films. Like none of that's appealing to me. I mean I'm blessed that I got to, I've worked on some Blumhouse films, and I've worked on some higher tiered films, like budget ranges between like 1.5 to like 5 million. I've gotten to do some cool things, but like yeah, I don't know, I really just love the micro indie do it yourself like scene. This is more like my home. I love this film world.
Yeah, did Blumhouse contact you or did you contact them?
No, I got onto some of those gigs when I lived out in LA, and I was working at Soda Effects, Roy Knierim and uh, Matt Falletta, like their shop, Soda Effects. They've been around since the 80s.
Oh wow.
Like Roy worked on the first or a couple of the Toxic Avengers. He's worked on some of the uh, um, Wishmaster sequels.
Oh
They've
wow.
they've done a lot of stuff. So
See, that's nice when you're an effects
Fist of
person.
North Star live action. Yeah. So yeah, I got on, by working at a shop in LA, I got on a couple of Blumhouse films. So
Cool. So they just contact you and they're like, "Hey," or they met with you or something, or
yeah. Uh,
that's awesome. Which ones did you work on? Do you know?
Um, One that's not really a horror film, but it's like it was really cool. Like when I finally got to see it like play on HBO, I was in a hotel and I was like, "Oh, this has HBO," and it's like a HBO on demand. And then it's called "Don't Let Go," which
Huh?
wasn't the title it was shot as, but um, like I'd say the closest it would be, without giving anything away. Do you remember a movie um, called Frequency?
Yeah, yeah. Where the radio, they listened to the
Yeah,
radio, and the radio was like the I guess his father, his dead father, or something like that.
yeah.
Or
His dead father was a fireman, and
yeah,
he could communicate with his son and kind of
Jim
alter.
Caviezel, if I'm right. Yeah, because
Oh,
Caviezel, the guy, the Christ, right? Wasn't that the? I think that was who was in Frequency. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back. And you were just talking about Don't Let Go and working on that film.
yeah. And that was the first Blumhouse film I got to work on through Soda Effects, and yeah, it was really kind of interesting. It's a non-horror film, but the film itself, if you've seen the film Frequency,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of in line with that sort of plot line. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I wouldn't call it sci-fi, but there's definitely like a time slip or a time anomaly in it. But what I got hired to do, they needed there was a character who gets, shot in the head, and you think I mean it's a murder, but then the second time that it happens, he because there's a time slip, I'm giving a lot away, but like the second time he gets shot in the head, it's like from a shotgun, and they're like, we want this to be like medically,
Possible.
anatomically, like, yeah, they just wanted it to look as real as possible. So like I did my rough sculpt and we sent that in, and they're like, "Oh, can you tone it down a little bit?" Because what I did was, and I could send you the clip of my rough sculpt that I filmed on my phone, but like I in this line of work, like people need a certain type of wound or this or that, and so I'll just research things online. So I looked up a whole bunch of like suicide shotgun blasts to the face or head,
Mm-hmm.
and they're awful. They're terrible to look at. And so I was like, well, I think I could recreate that. And so I did like a rough sculpt of that and then sent that in. They're like, oh, tone that back a little bit. It
That looks
really
too
like,
real. You
yeah,
know.
because I had like, the side of his head like folded over into itself,
Oh,
because,
but
yeah, I
that's
mean,
probably what it really looks like,
it's
right?
what it really would look like. Yeah, so
And we
like
don't want to
other
see
than
what it
like
would really look like really, really don't, you know?
yeah,
Huh.
and so I wound up just doing like they're like, can you just take the whole, from the lower jaw off, like just make
Mm.
everything like the top of his head just got blown off. So like I did that, but even then it was still a really rough to look at prop. It was like pretty horrifying, especially when we brought him in and set this body and set. But like, yeah, in the actual movie, it happens in a blink of an eye, and you barely see it. So,
Interesting. Cool.
but
I'll have to check that movie out. See, is it available? I'm looking online. It's available on FX now.
oh, okay,
So I guess it's an FX, you
yeah,
know, on the FX channel, and
yeah,
it's available to watch on there. But
yeah, it's pretty fun. I got to watch it in a hotel room on HBO. And I was like, oh, okay, that turned out really good because you read the scripts, but you don't know how everything's gonna play
right.
out. And then another Blumhouse film I got to work on was something. It's out now. I haven't seen it yet. It's called Run, Sweetheart, Run. It's
I've
like a
heard of it.
vampire thing.
I've heard of
Yeah.
it.
Um, but again, like yeah, we did all kinds of wounds. I did a head. It was supposed to get like bit and torn off. Um, you know, this is the other thing, like again, why I kind of didn't want to go out to like Hollywood and work at shops because, you know, you work at a shop and the shop's going to get credit on the film, but not everyone working on the film or working at the shop gets credit.
Right.
So that's one of the films, unfortunately, I have no credit on.
Oh,
So
that sucks.
yeah.
That's kind of a bummer of like, yeah, I've seen that where like, I mean, unless you own like, was it KMB effects or something, then you're
Yeah.
probably, and though I don't know. I see stuff on Marvel, and then when they have the credits, they have
Every person. Yeah.
every single person, and then like it takes forever because you have to wait in those things to get this like the final like credit sequence or whatever. So they want you to watch every single name that goes in there, and they're like, shit, it takes so many people to make this movie, but
And
like,
and
yeah,
it's not, always, the shop's fault. Like, they hired Soda Effects, so they credit, Matt Falletta and Roy Kinnearum. But like, there's a couple other people who are all working with us. Gage Munster, maybe he got a credit. I can't remember. Gage Munster did the onset application, and then me and Liz McCracken were doing all like, the wounds and the molds and the head and the hair and hair punching. But yeah, it's just one of those things that like sometimes falls through the crack, and that may be on the production end. Like I'm sure Roy submitted all his shop's information, but only like Roy and Matt got the credit. And it's like,
right.
boo.
I mean that sometimes it's out of out of even their hands. It's up to
Hmm.
the Hollywood what they want to do and credit.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks. I'm really bad with like updating like IMDb and stuff. And one of my friends was mad that I didn't add her to the IMDb for something, a project or whatever. And mainly not because I didn't add it, but because she told somebody to go look at that and it was not there, for that credit. And she was like, where's my credit? I'm telling people to check it, I'm helping, whatever.
Oh,
And
and IMDb is so finicky. Like, uh, if you look on IMDb, like there's 9 Marcus Cooks spelled exactly the same way. Most of them are me. It's just like, when filmmakers like add me to their credits, they don't add the credit to my existing credit, they make a new one. So then
right.
there's like all these Marcus Cooks with like 1 and 2 films, and it's still me, but they're just separated. And I don't and I,
It's
I
like
don't have
Marcus Cook 20,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
And two of the Marcus Cooks, because like in Germany, I guess Marcus Cook is like the Bob Smith. Like it's such an average name.
Oh, really? Didn't
Yeah,
know that.
which I didn't know. Um, but there's two other Marcus Cooks who work in the film industry and at least have IMDb credits.
They're from Germany?
Not me. Yeah, they're German. There's one Marcus Cook who's a swing dance instructor, so he has IMDb credits for his swing dance videos that he makes. And there's another Marcus Cook who's also does visual effects, computer
Um,
effects.
IMDb
And
is getting ridiculous though. They're adding
oh,
podcasts to the
oh
IMDb
no,
and
holy cow!
they're adding like everything to IMDb. So you
Yeah.
can, I guarantee you they're gonna add TikTok or whatever. If TikTok
Hmm.
stays, I don't know, but like
Oh my
they're gonna
goodness.
keep that. I mean, it's just
But yeah, trying to consolidate everything. The website is not user friendly, and I don't have a pro account. Maybe if I paid money for it to have my picture, next to my name, like maybe it would be easier, but I don't know. I've not had any luck trying to like and we'll get credits mixed up. Me and the other Marcus Cooks, I'll get some of their credits or they'll get some of mine, and trying to consolidate stuff, it's a pain in the ass.
there. I was lucky. Well, as far as I know, there's only one other Jonathan A. Moody on IMDb that but he was like Jonathan Aaron Moody and he was like back in like early times. I don't know, like early. Let me look. It was crazy because I was like, oh shit, there isn't. like there's another Jonathan A, like you know what I mean? Like uh that's and then um but yeah, Jonathan Aaron Moody. Oh, okay. He was in a couple newer stuff. Okay. So he's actually, yep. So he's out there. So I swear to God, he must have been the guy that sent me a message on MySpace once, was like, you're not allowed to be in Los Angeles because there's only one of us, there. Like I was like Highlander shit, there could
Oh,
be only one.
you got a message from? Oh, that's so crazy.
It was so creepy too. Like it was MySpace and they just sent me a message going, I'm there can be only one Jonathan Moody making films in LA or something like that. I was
Oh,
like, okay,
wow.
whatever.
Yeah, there's another Marcus Cook who's also a tattoo artist. There's an indie filmmaker, Jason Cook, spelled Koch, who makes like cool films. And I learned of Jason Cook through the other Marcus Cook because he's a tattoo artist in Maryland. And he's like, "Oh, you got to meet my cousin. Like he's also an effects artist and director and stuff." But I hired the other Marcus Cook to do. I did a VHS release of 100 Tears when Unearthed Films put it out. We did a limited run to 50, so I had Marcus Cook, the tattoo artist, do the artwork, which is confusing because like Marcus Cook directed by Marcus Cook, like artwork by Marcus Cook.
And then it looks like it's all you, but it's not.
Yeah.
No, but it's not all you. I do know a Jonathan Moody that's a musician, and he's
Hmm.
actually married to a friend of mine who I
Oh,
knew before they were even married.
oh,
So,
crazy small
and
world.
so we were both, I don't know when, like, if she, I think she was already dating him or like already knew him before like I added her as a friend, but she was a trauma girl, and everything. And so it was weird. Like, and so I've always thought, maybe I'll get this Jonathan Moody to do the music someday for some of my stuff. So then I can say composed by Jonathan Moody, but it's not composed by me, you know.
Yeah.
That to me would be fun because then it's me taking the credit for something I didn't do, you know. But yeah, I want to go into 100 Tears real quick because you did mention that just a second ago, and it is probably one of the things I think I can safely say as far as directing, this is probably the one that you're most kind of most talked about, sort of most known for, and I remember seeing it years ago and
Yeah.
loving it. It's weird and crazy and so Florida,
Yeah,
like
we shot it in 2007, which, to me feels like, a year or two ago. But that's upwards of 17 or 18 years now. That's
right. It's nuts to
wow,
think
man.
about. Yeah. God, like pretty soon it'll be 20 years and you'll be like, what the fuck? You can put out the 20th anniversary film, DVD or whatever
Yeah.
of it. Um, but yeah, no, that's amazing though that you're able to go out and make something that like resonates with a lot of people and people did really dug. What was like so was the reception originally really good for that film?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I don't know, by contrast, recently we have like the Terrifier franchise, which really took off and you know that's had a sequel and made like millions at the box office, like for an indie micro film to play like theaters nationwide, like that's awesome. It just sucks that like I kind of did the same thing, like an ultra gory killer clown film. It's just and it's not that it didn't go anywhere, but like it didn't hit at the right time. I don't know, but
I think you hit the nail on the head on there because I think literally it's all about timing. It's
mhm,
about what the people are looking for at that particular time.
yeah,
And because the original Terrifier did okay, right? Like it was,
yeah,
I mean, it's sort of a cult phenomenon, but like it didn't do like what Terrifier 2 did, you know?
yeah,
And I think it was literally because we were sort of at that time right now where we're sort of, I think it's post pandemic, where
Hmm.
things are just sort of like we kind of want things a certain way. We want certain things,
Yeah.
and this is what we're looking for. And that just happened. I don't even think Damien, who made it, like knew it was gonna do that.
Yeah, everyone was blown away by how much they did on their Indiegogo for the sequel. I think they did over like a quarter million, which, in indie film circles, like if you hit 25,000, you're doing good, but most people kind of rake in about like maybe 5 grand to make their indie films, but he hit like quarter million.
I
So
think
it's
he
like,
had I
oh
think
yeah,
he had 250 or so thousand, but I could
yeah,
be something
yeah.
like that
And
in that range. But I mean, yeah, it was a it was one of those things
right
where,
place, right time,
yeah.
the thing people wanted, and I've never met Damien or um the guy who plays Art the Clown. I haven't met them. I don't know if they've ever seen 100 Tears, but 100 Tears, you know, 17 years ago, that was our little contribution to like the over the top, super gory killer clown film. And, but here we are, in 2023, and Terrifier 2 comes out and just totally kicks ass. You know, it's such a, I don't know, over the top, violent, gory film, stuff you only see in the underground, making it big. So it's really cool to see something like that make it so big. And Damon Leone does all his own effects too. He's also an effects artist as well as a director. So,
So
which is
he's
awesome.
another you. But I was hearing like my family were talking about this movie. Like, have you heard about this movie Terrifier 2, where people are, because they marketed it,
Crazy.
they did a really good job of the marketing, because people were talking about how people are like throwing up in the theater and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, like people are talking about it did play sort of close by, but I just didn't end up watching it, sadly.
Oh,
Um,
it's a lot of fun. It's a little long. It is like, about
I
a
think
2 hour
that's why I didn't
movie.
watch it. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard for me to like, I don't even really like watching Marvel movies in the theater anymore because they're too
Oh, they're so
long.
long.
I know everything's so long. It's like, dudes, can we go back to like, I mean, I get it. I'm writing a script right now that's almost 100, and that's gonna be like 115 pages,
Oh
but
wow.
that's like that's gonna be end up scaling back and back. You know what I mean? Like, it's better to have more right then and then make it less
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
make it less and then have to figure out how to add more, later. But that's the problem, is like when films, they're like, oh, this is cool. And then they're like, we should cut this stuff. And they're like, nah, let's just leave it and make it 3 hours long, Tarantino's
Compare.
like that, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Holy cow. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think is my favorite film he's done. And but yeah, it's a 3 hour film. It's a very long film.
I love it
It's
though. Like,
good.
it doesn't
Yeah, it's
feel
good.
that long. It does go pretty fast, but then you look at Kill Bill and they had to separate into two different freaking
Yeah.
things. And then what is it? They make a whole freaking mini series out of Hateful Eight. So like he likes long shit, he has a lot of story to tell, and if
Yeah.
he can make it interesting, that's great. But a lot of times these movies are way too, you know, especially indie films. Like, there's no reason you're not saying Terrifier 2, but like, because I haven't seen it, I don't know, but like, there's no reason like a Sharknado type movie should be that long,
Yeah.
3 hours long.
Yeah. After Bad Blood, like, my runtime was 90 minutes, but now, like with Rot, Fell, and Bloodshock, like I try and keep it under 80 minutes or around like 80 or under 85. Like I think that's like the sweet spot, for films. It doesn't overstay their welcome, you know.
So I did watch Fell before the show.
Mhm.
I had told you I bought it and everything, and I was super excited. And I think you tried to warn me something about it. I forgot what, but you
Oh,
um
it's the one film that like there's no gore. It's not like,
it's
it's
a
not a
little,
horror film.
there's a
It's
little
like
bit of blood.
a little bit of blood.
There's
I can't
not,
get away from it.
yeah, but it's not. It wasn't like your typical stuff. And I have to ask, is most of it improvised?
Sort of yes, sort of no. Yeah, it's a very interesting story how Fell came about. Um, it was improvised in the fact that we didn't have a script per se, but we knew every action that had to happen that led to the next thing. And then, you know, it was like planned out improvisation, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, like, well, I mean, was some of it because it said it was written by four people, so and including the actors and
Yeah,
stuff. So I wonder if a lot of that was because kind of things were kind of
yeah.
probably
It
thought
was
of.
all of us. Okay, so yeah, here's the backstory. I won't go into too much about what happened originally. Like that's definitely like, corner me in an elevator, get me drunk, and then I'll tell you the full story. But uh Elmar Berger, my producer on 100 Years, he had said, "Hey, let's do something fun. Here's 5 grand, make a tiny film, you know." And so, like, I wrote a story a long time ago called Blood Junkie that kind of petered out and fell apart. And I was like, well, maybe I could resurrect the Blood Junkie story. And I hooked up with Christian Day, who he was going to produce it. And he also scores all my films, like Bloodshock and 100 Years. And, so he lives in Iowa. So we went to Iowa and we took this 5 grand. I flew an actress in from Canada, and we
Katie?
were going to shoot this movie, Blood Junkie.
Oh, okay.
Well, day one, everything went like started red flags on day one. By day four, I was like, I think I've made a mistake. I think I need to fire this actress because I don't want to get down to the end and have everything go to shit. And then we have nothing to show for it. And by day 10, it was so bad. I was like, I've got to pull the plug on this project. And so I fired her and at the drop of a hat got her an early return ticket, which left us with $300. And it was me, Jeff Dylan Graham, Christian Day, and our PA, this wonderful girl, Katie Walters. And we now had 4 days left. And we were so stressed out. Like, I mean, it was such a bad situation. Like everything just escalated and just snowballed into this bad, horrible situation that, yeah, we had no other choice but to fire this actress. Um, anyway, so we're like, well, we can't return without a film. Like we have to, we had 5 grand. We have to come up with a film, and so we've got $300 left. We have, we were all staying at Christian Day's house. And I was like, well, we have this and we have the four of us. What could we make? And I took the $300 that we had left. We went out and bought really good food and everybody's alcohol, whatever anyone wanted to drink.
Hmm.
And we all ate a great dinner, cried because it was such a stressful, 10 days that we just lived through. And now we have to come up with a film. And so we just started just throwing out ideas. And, so that's why it says written by all four of us, because all of us came up with the idea. Like we all contributed and just like this works, let's do this, that doesn't work, let's try this. And then by midnight we had everything written down. We had everything broken down into like 90 sentences because I was like, okay, let's treat this like every minute of film. Here's every sequence that has to happen leading to the end. And yeah, so we had that. We all slept until about noon, woke up, and the next 3 days were planned, and it just went like a well-oiled machine. We shot everything for the day because we broke it up into 3 acts, and so every time it's nighttime, that's the next when he wakes up is the next day. So we shot everything for that day. So when it's nighttime and he wakes up, that was our next day of shooting. And we shot everything until he goes to sleep and wakes up. And then that's the next day of shooting. And so we filmed all of that in 3 days.
Wow.
Um, it was fucking insane. But there was, only four of us. There was me with the camera, Christian, who doesn't like to be in front of camera and act. He's a producer and score guy. And
He did a
then
great job.
our yeah, he's fun. Yeah, he hated being on camera. And then
You
Katie,
couldn't tell. I
like
mean,
she was,
you know.
yeah, and Katie, she was just there to be a PA, and she's like, I'll play the girlfriend. And so she did that. And so it was literally just the four of us. All of us knew the story inside and out because we made it up the night before. And then we shot it in the next 3 days. And then once I got back home to Florida, I was editing and I started thinking, I was like, okay, well, we set and meant out to make a very tight claustrophobic film.
Hmm.
And it was, but I was like, well, we need a little explanation and backstory. So we got back together in November uh, to shoot like a couple of backstory pieces or flashbacks, and it happened to snow like a crazy blizzard, and so it was like, oh, this is perfect, now we have something to totally different from the look of the film before.
Hmm.
Jeff Dylan Graham cut his hair shorter and clean shaved, because we had him really scruffy and like he shaves his hair into a mohawk, but then we have like this awesome snow like we could play in. And I'm a Florida guy, so I don't get to see snow. So it was like I get to film in the snow. So yeah, we shot like some flashbacks, and then we had a friend of Christian Day, like who is Baron Christensen, come in and play like the psychiatrist and Shrink to kind of like fill in the gaps of stuff. So that's
Hmm.
how Fell came about. It was like a complete accident. Like literally the night before we started shooting, it did not exist even as an idea.
That's crazy. Like that's insane. And it's got one of the, I mean, I should have seen the twists and stuff coming, and I might have seen it like a little bit, but you guys did such a good job with kind of tricking me a little bit at times, where
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So I really think if anybody gets a chance to go buy Fell, it's on eBay or Amazon or whatnot, and go buy it because it is definitely a lot of fun. Is it going to be on Blu-ray at some point or anything?
Yeah, Elmar and I have been talking. Our contract finally ended with Chemical Burn, was the company that released the DVD. Um, so maybe one day we can do like I'd like to get Christian and Jeff and Katie back together again and do like interviews or something, because there is no behind the scenes, because
I didn't see that. Yeah.
there's absolutely nothing. It's such a bare bones DVD, but I'd love to get like all of them together and maybe talk about like the insanity of how the film came to be.
Do a
Um,
drunken commentary track. That'd be fun. Because it'd be funny because it would go back to your days of like, with, what you guys are like, but then you could talk about how you actually finished a fucking movie, when all that,
yeah,
said and done.
and yeah, and it's funny. Like once you see it once, like watching it a second time to see somebody else who hasn't seen it, just to watch their reactions, like I think is interesting because the ending is set up within the first 5 minutes. Like it's totally laid out how it's going to end, you know, within
Hmm.
the first few. But like, I mean, but all of those like switches are super intentional. Like we want you to believe this, but then we're going to hit you with this, and then you once you believe that, we hit you with another thing. So it is a very like I don't know how to do a who done it without being a murder miss. I mean, a who done it, you know.
Right. Definitely sure. By the way, I'm a huge fan of Jeff Dylan Graham. I've been friends with him off,
Oh, he's great.
since, back in the day, but like I used to have him when I had my old radio show on Blog Talk Radio. I'd have Jeff pop in. Now I don't hear from Jeff much at all. I think he's on
Yeah,
Instagram still, but
yeah,
um
I hear from him maybe every couple of years, but you know,
he's
love.
I guess he's going through his own thing, which is fine. I would just love to see him in more stuff more, soon, because I
He's
miss
been.
him. Like he so like the first indie movie that I can say I ever like of horror movies or whatever, that I mean, aside from like Clerks, indie, but I'm talking about like the low budget, no budget indie films from horror is Dead and Rotting, and he was in that, and that was the first thing I saw, and whatnot, and then brought me into the world of like Trauma and all these other things that kind of, but Dead and Rotting, he was so good in that movie, and after then I was like, I need to find more of this dude. Like I need to find, so I found like Zombiegeddon, and then I watched, all these other ones that he's in, and
Cremains and what was he was in like Adam Wingard's first film. What's the
Homeschool.
title?
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
bought that.
Homesick. Yeah,
Homesick.
he's
Homesick.
he's so good in it. He's just like a little tiny character who's in the background, and that's what I hate. Like Jeff Dylan Graham, like in most stuff, he's just like a background guy. He's like the goth guy, the druggy, you know yeah, he just kind of plays like a filler character, but like yeah, I always liked him. He had a good look. I thought he had a really good charisma, and I wanted Jeff Dylan Graham to be like a leading kind of role, you know.
Mhm.
And that's what I wish he'd get more films like Fell because he's so good and can encompass that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, him and I have talked to work together, but it's just nothing. You know how the world is, man. Like
Mhm.
things don't come together. Money is always the biggest issue, and so it's nice that your executive producer's like, here's 5 grand. I mean, sad
Yeah,
that things
it's
didn't
not
work
much,
out.
but hey, we could make a film, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 5 grand then, 2000 and what, 9, you probably
Yeah,
shot it.
yeah,
You know, I mean, still, that was pretty good. You could definitely make it. You could probably even make 2 films with 5 grand now, but, you know, um, that's just the way things are these days. If you just basically don't really pay, except for food and lodging or whatever, you
yeah,
know. And that's the thing, like I think a lot of people don't realize, like, because people are like, oh, I can make a movie for 5 grand. A lot of it, people aren't getting paid for it, which
yeah,
is fine if that's what you want to do and that's what you want to, and people are okay with doing that. But, sometimes when you gotta pay people, like your whole cast or crew, it's gotta be, more than that,
yeah. And
Um,
it was just the right storm of elements. Like, yeah, there was not much money to work on, and going through the insane nightmare that we did go through for like to come out of it with a film. It was like, yeah, the phoenix rising from the ashes. I mean, it's like Fell is a film that shouldn't have happened, but it did, and I
I'm
love it.
glad it did. I mean, I really liked it. I was gonna put on Indie Film Cafe, like, we're gonna review it for Indie Film Cafe, but I decided, the I love it, but the biggest thing, the difference between like IFC or maybe like our quick review Thursday,
Mhm.
thing, which I think it would be better for, is that there's really not a lot to discuss with it. It's got to be a quick review because otherwise you're just pretty much talking about the movie over and over again. It's
Mhm.
kind of got that the feel of like, it has a feel of like there's a lot of stuff that's happening that's over and over again. So it's sort of, and it works perfectly for that. It's not
Mhm.
loop or anything, but it's sort of, if you'll understand if you watch it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's one of those things where it'd be better if it's a short review and we don't spoil anything, because that's the thing with this is I feel like this movie should not be talked about as far as like spoiled. You shouldn't
Yeah.
know the ending because
It's
it
it's a
is such a good twist and such a good, like, you did M Night better than M Night's doing M Night now.
what a twist.
Yeah, right? Like it's got a really good twist. Like M Night's probably watching this movie go, damn, maybe I should remake this. So M Night, if you want, maybe. I don't know if you'd want him to remake Fell, but but anyway, I love Fell. I love 100 Tears. I love all the stuff you're doing. What are you doing lately?
Oh, since like the 2 weeks to slow the spread that has now lasted 2 years. Not much has really come back my way. Like, I mean, there are, you know, some projects, little things. But yeah, this past year has been lots of, I don't know. It's weird. Like, maybe 6 films we've worked on, like all go tits up like halfway through. It's just I don't know. I don't know what happens, but you think like, okay, this is a cool project. We get on this, it's like 2 million, and then you're out in Syracuse for 2 weeks, and then just the plug is pulled. Like the whole thing just like shut down.
Hmm.
Some projects because of COVID, because like that's still a thing that people get now is people still get COVID, but I don't
That's
know.
another reason why I've kind of stopped making movies right now. It's like
Yeah.
it's
You,
I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I would love, because COVID's the flu now,
Yeah,
in a
it's
way.
like people are gonna get it. Like, I mean, that's just the
Yeah.
long and short of it, And the world didn't stop for the flu, so I don't know, but it's still like such a weird, touchy subject. Like, if you're on a film and one person gets COVID, everything shuts down. You're
Yep.
just done. You know, uh, it's we're in such a weird place. I've been trying to learn visual effects, not very good at it, because computers frustrate me. But like I've been trying, I was like, well,
Same here.
what can I do from home? I can make body parts and props and stuff like, so I've been fortunate that I've had, some people need things that I can make here and ship to them, and I don't have to be on set for any of it. I'm currently sculpting a baby for a film. It's a
Nice.
horror film, so I'm sure bad things happen to the baby, but like I'm making a
Oh,
baby right now. I don't write
you're
this
gonna
stuff.
make a bit. You make the baby. You have nothing to do with what happens to it afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. So, but another thing, I don't know if I can say too much because I don't know if any of this information has been released publicly yet. So I can't say that yet.
Okay.
Uh, Possibly a TV show on streaming, um,
Uh,
featuring short films from around the world,
oh, cool.
is going to be coming out. And so at the end of April, I'm going to be doing some effects for the intro for the show.
Okay, cool.
So think of an intro similar to like American Horror Story
Yeah, I was
or
actually
Zero.
that's the first thing came to my mind, honestly. It's
Yeah.
weird, but
It's
like
if
I
it's
just
not American Horror Story, that'd be awesome. I'd love to go work on that. But no, it's not American
well,
Horror
damn it,
Story.
because now I know it's not because you can't talk about it, you know?
Mhm.
So if you're gonna say it's not it, well, then again, what's his name? Kept saying he wasn't the werewolf,
Oh
you
yeah.
know? So maybe you're saying that to throw us all off and say you're not working on American Horror Story, but yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool. No, I know a couple people who work on that. Yeah, I like, man, I wish I lived like closer to like New York. Jerry Selenfield is an effects artist who does, effects on that. Like I would love to go work and play with them. Like that'd be just amazing.
I
I
mean,
love
they
those
they have some
movies.
great effects. I mean, but I mean, they've got the money to do it, so it better
Yeah.
be good, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. That's the thing. We were talking earlier during the break about Hollywood and stuff, and you were even saying like Hollywood's almost the same as the indie route, just with more money, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, if you've been on an indie film shoot, like I don't care if it's like, 5 grand or 5 million, everything is really, really structured the same. Everything operates the same way. There's just more money and more mouths to feed, really,
Right.
you know.
And it's like because when you work when you have a bigger budget, maybe you have more, maybe you can buy a permit, and then if you don't
Mhm.
have a big budget, you have to go steal a scene or something, or
Really gun
whatever.
it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's how we like some of the stuff in Rot. Like, I mean, we just shot downtown, like, having a punk run through like the city water fountain, doing totally illegal shit. Uh,
Yeah. So you had your Ed Wood moment. Did the cops come? And you're like, we don't have a permit.
oh yeah,
Run.
yeah. We have had many, many run-ins with cops. Even on Bad Blood, like I guess there's a sequence in the beginning of the movie where there's a coffin. They dig up a grave, and so I built a coffin, and we, dug a hole for it and brought it out to the woods. Somehow the cops found us out in the woods, and like we're, like, what are you guys doing? And I was trying to tell them, I'm like, well, it's an indie film and this and that, and they're like, oh, so you think you're fucking Steven Spielberg? I'm like,
Did you say that? They said that to you?
yeah,
You should have
yeah,
been like,
what?
actually, I'm his son.
uh,
I would have loved to see like their face when you said that. And
well, Steven Spielberg's my dad, so
no, no. My name is Les Spielberg. Uh, which works on two different levels, by the way, if you didn't get that joke. Um, but yeah, I that's the thing. I love indie filmmaking. We had the cops called on us once for one of the projects I was doing. I had to go, or some people went to go talk to them, and they were like, "Oh, because in Virginia, they don't. This isn't like normal, being
Mhm.
called for film stuff, So the cops were more interested. Like, I think if we offered them a part, they would have been, like people around our town just loves that shit. So like they're like, "Oh, you make movies. That's really cool," right? And I
Awesome.
apparently there, so apparently I guess in Florida, you guys they probably get called for that shit a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, like I mean, and other times, deservedly so. Like on 100 Tears, like at the end of the movie, spoiler, Christine played by, or not Christine, yeah, Christine played by Rain Brown gets run over by like, the picture car, and blood splattered all up the hood and up the front of the car. Well, where we shot that versus where we needed to go to like wash it off was a good couple of miles. So it's like, okay, we did the scene, but we didn't think to bring like bottles of water to wash the blood off the car.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
so Joe drove the picture car home to the house, and I drove my car, and we both went like weirdly different ways, but wound up at the same place. and that our house. And as he pulled in the driveway, I see cops coming around and pulling into our driveway, and cops are coming up from behind me to go to the bloody car. And so that was an interesting conversation. They're like, "Whoa, hey, it's fake blood. Sorry, we just drove across Tampa with a
What
bloody car."
what did
And
they
someone
what did
told
they
the cop,
think that you guys were like that was real blood and that you guys run somebody over and then
"Oh, yeah, they didn't know. They just had phone calls coming in. They're like, look for this like yellow convertible, covered in blood." And so, but they caught up to us right as we were both pulling into our driveway. And it's
do
like,
they pull out
hey,
their guns and
sorry,
stuff or they
making a
like
making an indie film here. It's fake blood. It's all good. You can come taste it. It
did
tastes
they
like
did they
chocolate.
pull out their guns and they're like, "Hey,
No, no, nothing that bad. They were just like, what's going on here? And we're like, indie filmmakers.
yeah, you don't want to see the other guy. I'm sorry."
Yeah. He's a little flat right now.
But yeah, that's crazy, man. Cops being called or whatever. I mean, that happens. And people I know I was driving with a cop who was actually a filmmaker and
Oh,
once
wow.
and so he knows so he got pulled over while we were driving back from Kentucky or whatever for the horror one of the horror stuff that we're conventions that we were doing and he got pulled over and he told a guy first of all I'm a cop, right, but I'm also a filmmaker and so you're gonna see in the trunk you're gonna see a bunch of like body parts and stuff. He was explaining it. I was like, oh my God, that's really sounds bad. But I mean, when he flashes his badge or whatever and lets him know, and then he goes, like, just, it's funny. I like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like, I think that should be part of a movie, you know? Um, real life shit.
Oh, I'm sure other filmmakers, indie guys have like been in that same boat. Like, I mean, if we got pulled over with a truckload of body parts when I finished filming Bouquet of Guts and Gore for the American Guinea Pig series, the back of my truck was just loaded up with like body parts and just decimated corpses, like all in the back. If I would, and we put a sheet over everything, but if I had gotten pulled over, it wouldn't have been good.
Nope. No, not at all. And that's funny. And it's funny that you worked with American, guinea pig and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean they're pretty gory. They're I know I believe my friend Kate worked with them on a couple like at least one
Oh
of them.
yeah, Kate
Kate,
Fenix.
yeah, Kate Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah, she's sweet.
Yeah.
Love her. Um
Yeah. She's yeah. We cut her up in Bouquet of
that
Guts and
sounds
Gore.
terrible. I
Yeah.
cut her up.
Yeah. uh, Conversations are normal to me, but I have to watch myself when I'm out in public. I'm like, oh yeah, I killed that person. I cut him up. I cut his head off. I'm like,
And they're like 911. Well,
there's some
I
weird
think I
guy
have
talking
something to report to you. I'm not sure. The guy's being very cool about the fact that he's murdered these people.
Oh, I was actually on a flight one time, and I'm not a talkative person, like, but the person next to me was just very talky and asking what I do, and I was like, well, I'm a special effects artist. I work in low budget horror films, and I started showing them pictures of things I had in my phone. But what I didn't know is there was like, I don't know, a law person. I don't know if they were a cop or whatnot, but they were behind me and they had actually like because they could see my phone through the seats and saw some of these gory graphic pictures I had on my phone and actually said something to me about it and they're like what is this, and I was like, oh, I'm an effects artist, but because they were sitting behind me they couldn't see what I was showing
Or they
or
can
what I had
hear you
told
what
the
you were
person.
saying too, that you were telling the person or whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So they probably thought, should I
This
be
guy's showing like real death photos to someone. And
Oh man, that makes me think of like
yeah.
Faces of Death or whatever. like
Oh
the
yeah.
shit that you
I
would
mean,
see in
but
the
that's
video
why
store.
I don't post any of my work on Facebook anymore because I'll get like bans now. As soon as it goes
Yeah.
up, it'll get pulled and like, oh, I've got another 30-day ban because I posted a picture of some gory thing I did. So I don't even post my work anymore. Haven't done that in about 10 years.
A friend of mine, I swear to God, she just told me she got banned from Facebook for a meme. And it was a silly meme that just says, just so you know, if you ever become a zombie, I would chop off your arms and keep you as a pet. And she
Yeah,
got flagged for
it's
that.
it's
And she wasn't sure
ridiculous.
if it was like somebody reporting her, if there was it was,
The
Facebook.
algorithms. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the AI algorithms. These are keywords or this or that, violence,
Dahmer, you can't even
bullying,
mention
Dahmer. Oh
Dahmer.
yeah, you can't post any things of Dahmer. Don't post a Dahmer joke like, oh, what did Dahmer say when he opened his refrigerator? My baloney had as a first name. Nah, nah, whatever.
Or like, why didn't John Wayne Gacy like to eat, eat why didn't shit, I totally fucked that up. Why didn't Dahmer eat John Wayne Gacy?
Why?
Because he tastes funny. Yeah.
What's the temperature below John Gacy's house? 33 below.
Oh my goodness. So there you go. But see, you can't say stuff like that on
No,
Facebook
no.
now. It's honestly, people are like getting really frustrated with that, especially in the horror community, because like even TikTok, you can't show stuff. OnlyFans is even has like a thing, and I'm like, OnlyFans lets you have porn, but it won't let you have gory stuff in it.
Yeah,
Like I'm
no
like,
horror.
where's our world at like right now? You know?
Uh,
Like
that's a conversation over many beers. Yeah, where are we? I don't know anymore.
I don't know. I don't
Um,
I don't even care, honestly, because like I mean, I use social media for promoting my podcasts and stuff. Honestly, I'm getting so frustrated with it. I just almost like it's feels so stressful, you know, to just
yeah.
go on, log in and see people posting these days or whatever. Because we
Oh
just
yeah.
live in such a divisive,
Hmm.
world right now, and everybody's yelling at each other and hating on each other. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't want to sound like a hippie, but can we all just get along and just
Yeah.
like,
Can't we all just get along? Like, yeah, I don't know. Mm.
and that's why I like people like you, Marcus, because
I
honestly,
don't
I've known you forever and I've
I don't
never,
talk politics.
I don't
Like,
talk politics either.
no politics, no religion. Like, I don't care what you believe. I don't care. What side of the fence you sit on. You know, I
Yeah,
like movies. I want to talk to people about movies. That's about
same
it.
here.
Don't care.
Yeah, like I wanna talk about movies. That's why I got into podcasting to begin with, It's like I love movies. I love watching them. I love talking about them. I love making them,
Yeah,
but I don't love us yelling at each other and saying, "Well, I'm not going to work with that person because they are a certain, political branch." And I'm
yeah.
like,
He voted for this person, and I don't agree with that. You know.
it did not matter like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
If you looked at 2013, people would work with whoever because they didn't care.
Yeah.
Now it got to be a point, and I sort of know where that point went, and I don't get it, like because I'm like it doesn't it doesn't matter. You cannot like this person, but you're still gonna work with them, right? Like
Hmm.
and it's become also people voicing their opinions that make other people mad, you know,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I always say don't fucking go on Twitter and talk about your political opinions because nobody wants to hear it, you know?
No, I mean, and it all goes back. I mean, growing up, like, okay, at family functions, things not to discuss is religion and politics. And, it's like, okay, we're going to have a family Christmas dinner. don't talk about like religion and politics. So it's like off the table. And I think that was a good rule. Like, no, because it just generates arguments. But like somehow we've gotten past that where we enjoy the argument it gets, and
Hmm.
I don't like it. I don't know. Anyway, but now we're
Yeah.
talking about religion and politics, so I'd
Well,
like
we
to get
are, but we're talking about how we don't like it. So I think
yeah,
it's fine. I think it's
yeah.
okay. I
Oh,
just don't talk about,
okay.
like we're not talking about our political or
Yeah,
religious
no.
affiliations, but and that's the thing. Like I've talked to other people on this show about that exact thing of
Yeah.
like that is where it's becoming like an issue with working with one another. It's just like
Oh, yeah.
can we all who are all talented, in our own individual way, come together, work on a project, not talk about this stuff, go home, and then we can, voice our opinion,
Create
whatever.
art. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just like, yeah, the brass tacks of it is like none of that matters in the world we work in. I mean, the rest of the world, sure, yeah, and everyone wants their voice to be heard, for better or for worse,
Mm-hmm.
but that's everybody. Everybody wants their voice to be heard, I mean, why wouldn't you, But when you come up against dissenting opinions, you can't just like cancel everyone because they don't agree with you. I think that's where we are as a society. I don't know if it's going to get better.
I think it will. I think people will start realizing at some point that canceling people before, because it used to be that you know, guilty or not guilty, not guilty
Yeah,
until proven guilty,
yeah,
basically, or whatever, innocent until proven guilty. Now it's was it guilty until proven innocent, you know,
yeah.
and I don't like this because, that happened to James Gunn, that happened to Johnny Depp,
Oh, yeah.
happened to a lot of people who, you know, people just jumped on one side of the media's opinion. And now it's happening, unfortunately, to like, I don't know what's going on exactly, but with like Jonathan Majors and stuff that's going on with him,
Oh,
the guy who did play Kang, he's having some issues. People are just
oh,
all of a sudden, I'm just
oh.
seeing people just jump on a he's guilty, he's blah blah blah, and I'm just like, can we just for a second get
Yeah,
all the facts before we start saying, lynch him,
yeah,
or whatever you want to,
yeah.
you know, I
The
don't know.
world's quick to lynching. The world loves their lynchings,
I
and that's
know. Well, it's kind of, I mean,
hmm,
whatever. We live in a world where true crime is the biggest thing right now, which is
yeah.
weird to me. Like,
Uh,
if 10
and,
years ago you were going to say true crime would be like the hit thing, I would have told you you're insane. But, you know,
uh, can we put this on pause for a second and come
sure.
back in a minute? Okay, I will be right back.
All right. And we are back, and I think we're gonna pretty much wrap it up. But so you said you've got a few projects, some that you can't talk about or whatever. Can you tell us also, like, where can people find you?
100 Tears is streaming for free on Tubi, so you can see that. Unearthed
Nice.
Films released that. Bloodshock is too kind of violent for streaming, so Tubi won't play Bloodshock.
Well, how about you personally for your social medias?
Oh,
You
oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. I don't that's really the only one. Long ago I made a Instagram and a Twitter, but I don't ever use that. But Facebook really the only one I use. And you know, find me there.
I'm really bad with Instagram. Mainly
Yeah,
because it's just pictures, so it's really hard for me to like do just pictures, you know what I mean? Like I need more than that, I
yeah.
need sometimes I don't want to do pictures, so or or find a picture, Google a picture that'll work for it. I don't know. But Twitter and Twitter I just don't like because it they shorten what you have to say. And
Yeah, you have to write everything in like what I mean, 42 characters or something. Maybe they've changed it. I don't
I
know.
think it's
I don't
gotten
want to,
longer.
yeah, and I don't want to pay for, whatever monthly fee for a blue check mark or whatever bullshit comes with that. I'm like, I don't care.
Well, yeah, I was kind of disappointed uh when Elon Musk did that because I felt like it was the blue check mark was very was very cool, like the people who got it, they didn't even ask for it. They were just sort of, you're a blue check mark person, because you're famous for doing this or this and that.
Yeah,
Now it's almost seems like, okay, well, anybody can be one, and then you have to go and check to see if they paid for one or if they were given the one, you
yeah,
know, and stuff. And I'm like, it's become almost like anybody can have one, and it's not as cool anymore. And it's mainly because he wanted to do it where, it's got more stuff, like you said. Like, you can have less ads or something like that. I'm just
yeah.
like, I don't give a crap. It's like Tubi. I don't care if there's ads in it. I'll watch it. I'll watch 100 Tears on
Yeah.
Tubi,
I'll watch it. I mean, yeah, you sit through like the same like cycled through commercials, every 15 minutes, but whatever. I mean,
If
but
I have
that's
to see
good for
John
TV.
Cena's commercial again, I'm gonna freaking
I
shit
mean, but that's
myself.
how I grew up watching TV. Like we had commercials. That was just a thing when you watched movies, there was commercials,
I
unless you had
still
Showtime,
I
you
still
know.
get commercials. I got satellite, so I still get them.
Yeah. There's
Thank
there's no escape.
I know. They're still going to be around. They're going to be worse soon
You can't
because
even go to the movie theater. Like, you remember when it was just trailers
yeah,
before the movie, but now it's like, oh, we got car commercials, we got,
M&M
commercials for
commercials.
M&Ms and then like real estate and like, oh, sell your home, buy a car, it's like, holy
Like
shit.
the local shit. Yeah, you know.
45 minutes of commercials before you can watch your fucking movie. Watch your 3-hour movie. It's like, wait, when are you supposed to pee? Like, we all need diapers.
Yeah, it's insane. Like I hold it a lot more than I want to, you know.
Hmm.
I tried like I was watching Black Widow, the Marvel one, and I was trying so hard to hold it, but then they sucker you in because like,
You're gonna
a lot of
miss
times I need to
something.
drink
You're gonna
something, man.
leave. You're gonna go pee, and that's when something cool is gonna happen.
I know. And so you're like, oh no, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna have to watch it on Disney Plus later and re see that scene I missed. But it is 'cause I will run out and I will run back in and I'm like, I ain't missing much. I will do what I gotta do and come back in. But anyway, that's whatever. I can't wait to see all the stuff you're doing coming up and everything. I hope you get to work with Blumhouse some more because that sounds like it was kind of fun and everything.
Oh yeah, they were really fun gigs.
Good.
So yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
everybody go check those movies out. Help that out because then maybe if they do really well, they'll be like, Marcus is the reason why this movie did so well. You know, let's
maybe.
hire him back. You know, because they make movies like we only see normally like The Purge or
Hmm.
Insidious or whatever from Blumhouse. Then they do like those movies like you said, the
Oh, there's a
Don't Look
lot.
Now,
Yeah,
and
yeah. They keep them
there's a
going.
lot of them that kind of go under the radar, but they're
Hmm.
making them because they're only like $1 million, to make.
Yeah, million to 2 million. I mean,
So for
they're
$10
yeah,
million dollars, they can make 10 movies and
yeah,
then put them out there and probably make like $1 billion, from those
yeah,
10 movies altogether. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah. They
insane.
they 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 got a good business model.
Yeah, as much as I give Jason Blum crap for Halloween Ends, sorry, like
Oh,
I
I haven't seen it yet. My wife loves it, which means I'll
really.
probably like it because I
Oof.
I try not to like watch any spoilers, but I hear it deviates in a way that made a lot of people angry.
Me being one of them. Yeah. Which I mean, it's not because, well, this is for another day when you've watched the movie. We can have another discussion about it. I don't want to say anything because
Yeah.
I will spoil
Yeah,
the
she
fuck out
won't
of it.
she won't tell me what happened. And I'm good about, I'm good about like not reading spoilers. Like that's the weird. People get mad like, "Oh, so and so like gave a spoiler away and now I'm mad." I'm like, "Well, don't read things people say." I don't know.
Especially if it's
Just
about the
because it's
thing you
on the
want to
internet doesn't
watch.
mean you have to read it, or watch it.
I was really happy nobody spoiled Scream 6 for me when I went to see it, so thank God.
Oh, it was so fun. Oh, no. I love Scream 6. That was a lot of fun.
See, yeah, all right. Well, we'll talk later. Maybe we'll have another discussion about these movies and whatnot. But anyway, thank you so much, Marcus. You've been awesome, awesome guest. I'm very happy that I had you on here. I don't know how long we've been talking about doing this
Yeah,
eventually.
we've been talking shit since MySpace days. So I mean,
Yeah.
we've been friends a long time. So this is the first
Were you on
interview
my
we've done.
blog talk? You've been on my blog talk radio show before, right? When I had it where like people call in.
Oh, maybe like, yeah, oh yeah, before video was streaming.
Yeah, before video streaming and all this craziness. I mean, this really just started in 2020 of like doing Zoom and doing all
Yeah.
this stuff. I knew nothing about Zoom, until 2020 rolled around and we were trying to figure out how we were going to do our show, you know, with this pandemic.
Yeah.
Then I realized I could get anybody from all around the world to be on my show. So thank you
Yeah.
for being one of them.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Like, well, definitely we should do this again.
Yeah, definitely. So everybody go check out Marcus. Go on to IMDb and check out his 20 pages on there. I don't think it's that many, but it's a few because I get it. It's happened to me too. So but check him out. He's I think you're the real McCoy, Marcus Cook. So the one that has everything
I'm
on
number
it.
one. Marcus Cook, number one at top. I'm
Okay.
the
He's
so.
number one. It goes to prove there's no other Marcus Cook like you.
But
Um,
yeah.
but anyway, go check his stuff out. Let him know what you guys think. Watch Fell if you get a chance.
Yeah.
And 100 Tears, free on Tubi. Um,
100 Years Fell, Bloodshock. Like those are
that
all
three is
fun.
that's a triple feature right there.
Yeah.
Everybody should check them out. All different, but all fun, you know. So everybody, thank you guys so much for checking this out and have a good one. Bye.